Hi everybody, in this video we're going to turn this, I hope this is good, oh dear. Anyway, we're going to turn this can of Monster energy drink, really? Anyway, we're going to turn this can of Monster energy drink into a trick pinhole camera. And I'm going to show you a couple things to do with it, how to do it, and hopefully how to do it safely. And what we're going to need for it are a can of Monster, or any other similarly sized can. It needs to be one of these larger 16-ounce cans. Some black electrician's tape, some spare 120 backing tape is ideal, but anything that's light proof. I have a second roll of tape here. We might or might not need that. Some scissors, and also something to punch a starter hole in this, and also a pin for making the actual pinholes. So let's get started. For reference, this is what it's going to look like. This is my first model of this. I'm going to build this next one in the same way. This has film in it, so I'm not actually going to open it to show you what it looks like inside. But the first thing I've got to do is empty out this can of Monster, and then I've got to clean it out and spray paint the inside. Wow, that's bad. Oh, wow, that's awful. For the starter hole, I'm going to use this little box opener. Now, careful as you do this, because this is a very easy way to cut yourself, both with whatever you're using to start the hole with and on the aluminum, because this is going to turn the aluminum into a fairly sharp, it's going to give the aluminum fairly sharp edges. So, oh. And it's okay that it's not perfect. I'm going to come back in and trim some of these edges off, because that's a really good way for me to end up in the hospital. Oh, one other thing you're going to need that I forgot to mention is black matte spray paint. So what you got to do is spray paint the inside of the can matte black in order to make it so that it absorbs as much light as possible, and that you're not at risk of fogging the film or getting internal reflection glare. Alright, and I've only cut myself once so far. Here we go, I've got the tape. I'm going to leave this a little bit right here on the back untaped. And the reason for that is what we're going to do is we're going to cut a slit. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut a slit down here this way. So here we go with that. So we're just going to cut a V shape. Okay, for this one I'm going to use the electrician's tape here. I'm going to feed the electrician's tape down the valley that we just made, because it's a little bit easier to do this way than to try and lead it in. Once it gets to the bottom, now we're going to fold it over. Okay, feed it down the valley there. Okay, so now you can see over here where the gap is and how I cut that piece out. The next thing we're going to do is bring these two pieces together. I'm going to tape them shut like this. And I'm doing this all before painting the inside of it, because I want to make sure that the tape can adhere well to the aluminum. And it will adhere better to the aluminum than it will to the paint that's going to be painted. So I'll just paint over the tape, and that's just fine. That way the inside will have a uniform matte black finish. So there we go. So now you can see it's a slightly different shape, and this fits over the outside of it fairly easily. We're going to modify this as well. So pull that off. So we're actually going to flare it outward. Okay. We're going to do the same thing with the electrician's tape. I'll do it off camera. But what this will do is this will help get the top to fit onto the bottom. Okay, so I taped up the top of this so that I wouldn't hopefully cut myself on it as we go through the next steps, which are to make this thing light-proof. So you can see we've taped up the back, but there's still this big slit in it. If we just left it like that, then you would fog all your film all the time. We really don't want to do that. So we're going to make the back of it light-proof. That's where the 120 backing paper comes in. I'm going to take a size here, a measurement, a rough measurement. Doesn't have to be perfect. So I went ahead and got this started, and what I did was I just lined it up and I put a piece of electrician's tape on the bottom. I'm going to do that again here on the top. I'm going to clean out the inside with some paper towels. You need to have it perfectly dry in there in order for the spray paint to adhere. But we still have the problem of the top part, which is not light tight. So it's always better, if possible, to make it completely light tight. This also looks a little bit better than having some remnant 120 paper on the top, right? The only risk with these homemade pinhole cameras, of course, is that somebody thinks you're planting a bomb when you take a picture with. There we go. That's how it's going to go together. Okay, so the pinhole camera, the paint is dry-ish. It's dry enough for what we're going to do next, but not dry enough that it isn't putting off paint fumes and making me high. So what we need to do next is put in some pinholes. Very small safety pin. So having 5 holes, I'm not going to use all 5 of them every time. It gives me the option to either just take a standard photo with a standard front pinhole and get a nice centered image, or take multiple combinations of photos. Now, one of the things is with these ones that have multiple holes in them is you can take all 5 or 2 or 1 or however many of the same subject, or you can take one image, go somewhere else, take another one, go somewhere else, take another one, and get multiple overlapped images. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the shutter for these. Okay, so we're back here and we're going to try loading this thing. I've got a piece of 4x5 film. So this camera can either take 4x5 film or 4x5 paper. And I'm going to trim this paper. It's from a piece of 8x10. I'm going to trim it down to 4x5 size, just so that we can see how it loads either way. There we go. So here's a 4x5 film. You can either set that in there like that, and you want to nest it so that the film, the base of the film, is in that ridge, and that'll help hold it in place, give you a nice stable piece of film. And then the back of it, now remember, anytime you're loading film or paper into one of these, you've got to be in the dark. If it's paper, it's okay to be in a red light, in a red safe light, but if it's film, it's got to be dark. You can also load it this way, and this will actually give us a slightly better fit. And the nice thing about this is, looking in here, I can tell that none of the pinholes are covered. These ones on the side, the film comes right up to the side of them, so you'll get some interesting photos because the image is going to be off to the side of the 4x5 film. instead of in the back. So if you were to use one of these and one of these, you'd get half an image on each side. Totally worth experimenting with that. Then this goes back on here like that. Same thing as we just saw with paper, and it's going to work better to load it this way, landscape, than to load it portrait. So at any rate, that's how you make a 16-ounce pop can into a pinhole camera. I'm going to let that completely dry. I'm going to go out and I'm going to take some photos with it, and the next thing you're going to see after this wrap-up are the photos. So this video was helpful. Please give me a thumbs up. That lets me know I'm on the right track. You can leave any comments or questions below, and I'm pretty good about responding those fairly quickly. You can also subscribe to my channel to find out more about some of my additional pinhole experiments, because this is not the last one. I've got more pinhole camera experiments coming up that are going to be pretty easy to use and should give you some interesting results. And the last thing, thank you guys for watching. Hi everybody. For this video, we're going to turn this camera into a dang it. Hi everybody. In this video, we're going to turn this can of, wow, that looks disgusting, into a pinhole camera. Part of the inside of the bottom. Whoa, ow. Oh man. And get a sliver, just a second.